Alright, we're back again. In this section, we're going to install the balance and check its function and check the chrono function as well before we do the final assembly with the dial, the hands, casing up, all that. So I have everything ready to go here. We're going to install the balance. There it is, ticking away. One thing to note about this, not only is the balance under that wheel, that center wheel, but so is part of the hairspring, which can make it rather troublesome, I guess you could say, to get that in there. But it dropped right in. Seems to be working fine. At least it's ticking. There's only a few clicks into the wind, but this is a good sign. Here's our mounting screw. Okay. Looks good so far. I'm going to take a loop to this. The only thing I want to change, if you notice the stud for the end of the hairspring coming through, it's a little deep in its bore. I'm going to drop that down a little bit. So I'm just barely going to loosen that screw. Might need a loop to do this. Let's see. I don't want to loosen the screw completely. I just want to, there you go. Just enough that I can move that stud so when you look at it, at the hairspring, it's on a level plane. Everything's flat. That looks pretty good right there. I'm going to come around this way so I have easier access to that screw. Come on. Okay. Now the stud is tight and the hairspring or the balance is ticking away. That's a good sign. So let's give this a good wind. Maybe not a full wind. Halfway. We'll put it on the time grapher in this while we're here. But I want to demonstrate the chrono function. Show you how that's working. Okay, how are we looking here? Alright. I got about half a full wind into that. And you can see that balance has a little bit of wobble to it. It had that before, but the other balance was not fitting. So the fact that this had good amplitude, that's nice. Some of that wobble did come out. Okay, let's come out a little bit here. We're going to actuate our chrono. In this position, you can see the chrono wheels, how they're meshing right there. And when we actuate the chrono, this is going to pivot and engage that part the center chrono wheel. So let's do that now. Alright, I need a screwdriver. There we go. So we hit that lever, and there it is, ticking away, the center chrono wheel. As that happened, this device here is the reset hammer, reset lever, that pulls out of the way. And if you look at the, we're going to do this in real time, we'll see the, what do you call it? What do you call that thing? There's a pin that's going to come around, and it's going to contact that wheel down here, which in turn will move the minute wheel, the minute counter. Let's see if we can get some good lighting on that. It should be coming up right now. See it? There it is. Okay, it did move. Now, what we don't have is our jumper. We didn't put our jumper in yet. I did that for a reason. I wanted to make sure that everything was working properly before we do anything. So we shut the chrono off by hitting the same button, and then over here is our reset. And the reset brought those hammers into these two chrono wheels to reset them to 0. So, assuming we're at 0, we're going to take, let's get in the shot, people. There's our, what do we want to call that? Oh, let's do this first. If you notice, there's a slot right here. That slot enables that jumper spring to be advanced or retarded to 0 that gear. And here's the mounting screw, and there's a stud or a pin that's going to ride right in the middle of that. Let's turn that over to give you a look at that. There's the back side of that. That pin goes in that slot. It's a very delicate spring. I don't want to mess with it too much. Okay, there it is. It's in the slot. You can see right here the pin is directly over that slot. That screw mounts the spring to the base plate, I guess you would call that. And then we need to install this mounting screw, adjusting screw, whatever you want to call that. That is a shouldered screw as well. Now you can see what we got to do. We have to push that over to line it up like that. I have the spring on top of that wheel, so I can line this up. Or will it? Let's try this. Very delicate operation. That spring is very delicate. We have the screw standing up in its bore. Okay, we have it started. Then we're going to take this, move it out like so. Now, the reset hammers have everything zeroed, so therefore you can see how that jumper spring grabs onto that wheel. You can see that movement there. So the reset hammer has this zeroed, and it's gripping that spring. So let's tighten it right there. Let's assume that's where that goes. Okay? Now, let's actuate our... Let's get a shot on that. You can see where that is, right in between the teeth of that wheel, of that jumper spring. Let's get a pointer on it. Right there. We're going to actuate our chrono, and as that ticks over, it should jump over to the next tooth on that wheel. So let's actuate our chrono. And when we do that, this jumper spring is going to hold that minute counter at the 0 mark. We won't install the hands yet. So you can see that jumper spring holding on to that minute chrono wheel, and as we come around to the 1 minute mark, we can get everything in this shot, so that'll be nice. It's all about timing. I guess you could call this preliminary adjustment check. I don't know. I haven't done this before, but this was running pretty good before we did anything, so I can't imagine it being too much out of adjustment. There you go. You saw it click, it moved over, and that jumper engaged the next tooth. And looks like it's held in pretty good. That's held in nicely. We're running on 13 minutes here. Let's give this another, looks like it's going to be another 15 seconds before we get to our second minute. And if that's looking good, we're going to, well, we're going to end this, and then we're going to put our what do you call that thing? The face, the dial. We're going to put that on. We're going to put the hands on loosely, and we're going to double check chrono action before we finish everything up. So we should be coming up on probably 10 more seconds here, 15 maybe. Okay, let's watch carefully both ends. I think that's pretty slick. I think it's working good. So, for now, here's where we have it. Everything's working good. That's always a good sign, especially when we had such problems with that balance. So, stay tuned and we will continue the final assembly.